there's an interesting statement by Dr. Penfield. Dr. Wilder Penfield was not an ordinary materialistic scientist. His point, he was a neurologist, neurosurgeon. He probably did more experimenting on the brain than any person in history. Live patients, live human patients. So he ultimately came to conclude at the end of his work, at the end of his life, he concluded that the brain is not the controller, that the brain is like a computer, that the mind, he's calling the mind, he's saying that the mind uses. Instead of saying self, he's saying mind. So he's saying the mind, which is really you, uses this computer, the brain. Okay? So he wasn't identifying a person with the brain. Okay? He wasn't identifying the mind with the brain. But even Penfield did not understand. Even Penfield's understanding was not perfect. Basically, Penfield's idea was that there was the self, which he called the mind, okay, who was the person, okay, and this mind, this person, okay, who he's calling the mind, used the brain. There's just the person and then the brain. In which case, of course, what this means, in other words, is that when the person leaves the gross physical body, the brain, then all that's left is the person, right? So then you have a liberated person. Simply by leaving the body, you have someone who's liberated. You understand that? There's just the brain and then the self, and who's then using the brain. Okay? He didn't know about the mind, that there's a subtle material body there called the mind. Okay? That's also covering the self, and it is this mind that is somehow hooking up to the brain and using the brain. It's connected to the brain. Or if there is no brain, it connects up with something else, some other part of the body. Okay? Like in plants and amoebas and bacteria. There's no brain, but there's obviously some intelligence, there's some purpose, there's some memory, as rudimentary as it may be. So anyway, Penfield made, however, a statement that maybe, he's saying, because there's no need for there to be a continuation of the memories, therefore he's saying that all the memory was in the brain. Okay? That somehow the brain contained all the memories, that the memory banks are somehow in the brain, right? So he's saying, well, since there's no need for the memories later after you leave, therefore he's saying, obviously, there's no real need for it, those memories after this body's finished. So therefore all the memories must just be in the brain, and then that's it. He said, if the mind, he's speaking about the self here, yeah? He's using the word mind to refer to the self or person. If the mind had any separate awareness while the highest brain mechanism is inactive, it could make some use of a memory mechanism of its own. But the engram for mind memory would have to be redefined. Instead of being the lasting trace, in quotes, left in an organism by, in quotes, psychic experience, unquote, it would be the lasting trace left on psychic structure by neuronal action. In other words, he's saying that somehow right now the mind affects the brain and leaves some mark on the brain. Okay, that somehow the mind, the self, he's saying the self somehow leaves some mark on the brain. Okay? That's his idea, that there's a psychic experience and that this leaves some kind of lasting trace on the brain. Okay? This is what they're saying memory is these traces in the brain, okay? And that somehow psychic experience leaves some kind of lasting trace on this physical structure, and that's what memory is. You got all these lines and grooves or whatever they're imagining, okay? But he's saying there's a possibility, though. He's saying there is a possibility, he's saying, that instead of it being a lasting trace left on this physical structure, the brain, by a psychic experience, it might be the other way around, that there may be a lasting trace on a psychic structure by neuronal action. In other words, the brain action. By brain action of some kind, it leaves some sort of imprint on a psychic body or subtle body of some kind, okay? And that is in fact what it is happening. You experience now, through the gross senses, okay, you experience experiences of some kind. And this sets into motion whatever, neuronal activity, brain activity, right? Okay, so you got all these impressions and so on. And you close your eyes, those impressions are still there. They'll still be there. And after you leave this gross physical body, all the impressions that you've gotten from this world, from all those neuronal, what he's calling brain action, okay, this is actually leaving lasting traces on the mind, which is a subtle body. So Penfield just hinted at the possibility of this, but in fact that's what is going on. Okay. If he were correct, if there was simply this brain and all the memory and everything is stored there, okay, that is it, then there'd be absolutely no explanation for either, number one, how you can retain memory even though the brain is continually changing. The matter which makes up the brain is continually changing. And even more convincing is the fact that people can have have no brain and yet still have memory. Still be A students in universities. Okay? The very fact that people remember and are so active mentally and they have no brain is obvious that, in fact, the memory, intelligence, all of this is actually part of a subtle material body. There is no other explanation. Unless these guys start saying, oh, well, maybe it's lower down in the brainstem. Maybe it's down around here. Or maybe it's down here. Or maybe it's in your toe. Where will you end? Where does it end? Your idea is that this memory is in the body. It's somehow locked away in some little what are they? Those computers they have, what do they call them? Those computer record trips, right? They put in a cassette or a disc. What do they call those? Memory banks. Okay, a little memory bank. They're looking for the memory bank. Okay, they're thinking, well, the memory bank it can't be in the brain because these guys got memory, but they got no brains. Okay, well, maybe it's in the lower brain. Maybe it's in the spinal cord. Maybe it's at the top of the spine. Maybe it's up here. Maybe it's right in the back down there. Maybe it's in the toe. Maybe it's in their nose. Now, who knows, right? You're going to chase all around. You can speculate all you want.